Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Growing Up with Godzilla. My name is Donny Winter, and this is my show where I have conversations with Godzilla fans about how they've grown with the character and franchise over time. And we are on season 2. We are actually nearing the end of season 2, which is kind of giving me an existential crisis. But it's been fun. We've been having some great conversations. We've had new guests, we've had returning guests, and this week I am excited to have another returning guest, that being my dear friend Destiny, Kaiju-Hime. Hello!
Hello.
Welcome back to the show. How has
Thank,
life been going?
thank you. It's good. Thanks for having me.
Yes, it's always good to have you here. I really enjoyed our I feel like our last conversation we covered so much. And after that I was just like, well, it's got to happen again. Like we got to have a follow-up conversation.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to let the viewers know why I'm sitting here like an evil genius.
Oh, yes.
Baby.
We need our babies. I have the cats locked out right now. They're really mad at me. So if you hear some muffled yowling in the back, that's them probably trying to get in to, get to me. So
and now I can adjust my camera because
that was short. That was short-lived. Just a little cat meow.
A taste of cats. I want to take my scale baby out, but I've only had him for a week, so I don't want to stress him out too much.
Oh, well, maybe next time, right?
Maybe next time.
So I'm really excited right now. Not only to be having this conversation, but also I am one of those obnoxious people, and I have a holiday tree up already.
It's so cute.
It is my Mothra holiday tree.
I love it.
And I was just like, you know what, it needs to happen. And I don't know, it just makes me feel very wholesome.
It brings me joy. Yes. I love it. I have my pink one with
oh my gosh, I see it.
Yeah, it just lives up all year long because I was like, I have all this anime tchotchkes. So I'm like, what am I gonna do with them? Well, I'll just have a year-round Christmas tree.
That kind of empowers me to leave mine up all year round. I think I'm gonna start doing that. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not do that? But no, I'm really excited to have another conversation with you again because I feel like the chat that we had last time about the belonging in the fandom, the art aspect, they were so significant, and I feel like those will definitely come up again this time, especially being that over the past year there's been so much going on in the art world, especially with regard to AI art and things like that.
Sure.
So I know I've been seeing so many rumblings about AI art or people stealing art and just tossing them on Etsy on people's shirts and stuff like that. And I'm just have you ever had that happen to your art?
Not me, thankfully. I'm still, I think, tiny enough. I can just kind of go under the radar.
I don't believe that. I mean, I'm grateful that's not happened to you, but
yeah, it's just me out here doing my silly things, and and I'm telling you, when I first started, because I'm curious. I work in tech. I'm a user experience engineer, so any of this sort of stuff interests me, right? And so one day I was like, I'm going to try messing with this AI art. And I put in sexy Gigan, and it was no, it couldn't make anything. I didn't get anything. And I was like, proof we still need artists right here.
Right, because if AI is not going to have that creative ingenuity, who will?
Exactly.
And so Sexy Gigan did
exactly. Who's gonna do this? Huh?
Who AI? Is going to create Sexy Gigan and put it on a beautiful is that a body pillow?
It is.
That is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I think I remember little plump Gigan.
I love going to shows and people will see the front because I just have the cover up and they're like, that's amazing. And I'm like, do you want to see the back? And they come over and it's the best ever. They're like, oh my gosh, look at the cake.
Oh, I love that so much. I love that so much because I mean, obviously when art goes there, it's just fun. And I know like that
Yeah.
sometimes like really makes people uncomfortable, and it always amuses me when it does. Because I like, shameless plug for this, I am a huge fan of hashtag Mothzilla.
Aww.
And I love that Godzilla King of the Monsters kind of went there a little, like, and fans kind of went there being like, oh, there's a thing, you know, because Godzilla and Mothra are
Right.
symbiotic. Now, obviously, like, I'm not like, you know, going off and reading sultry fan fiction. However, if people want to do that, that's entirely their choice, because we don't shame here, right?
Yeah.
But
It's
it's
just for
just,
fun.
right, it's just for fun. Like, why not?
Yeah.
And I'm always curious to see like how people react, because like they don't mind art taking risks, but when it like crosses what they think is a line, then they're like, like,
Right.
you know,
Yeah, it's when it gets into that little like what people see as a gray area, you know. But
right.
I'm like, as long as people are complicated and everyone expresses themselves in different ways, and I'm of the mindset that like if you're not hurting anyone, I don't care what you do. Like
Absolutely.
whatever makes your day.
You know, they get worried about that gray area, but they don't realize that there's 50 shades of it. That was bad. That was
There we
terrible.
go.
That was really bad. Oh my goodness. So we'll talk about AI art in a little bit, because like I'm really excited to like pick your brain on that here in a little bit. But I want to know, looking back retrospectively as a Godzilla fan, because that's why we're all here. We're kind of like in another Godzilla renaissance with everything that's going on. So I'm always just curious to know like people's evolution with the character and franchise. So I would ask, what has changed for you over the years as a Godzilla fan, like perspectives, impressions, etc.
Mhm. I don't know. I've sort of I wouldn't say a hot take, but
I love a hot take.
it's like lately, I just well, okay, back up a little bit. People talk about like I've got Marvel burnout. That's kind of like me with Godzilla right now. And I should be, as a fan, like really, really excited because we're getting all of this new stuff from America and from Japan. And it's just like so much, you know, we're getting saturated, and we have like the we have the Monarch series coming out, and then we have Godzilla -1 that just came out in Japan,
The
and
new
that's coming
Godzilla
out.
versus Kong, the
Yep.
new Godzilla and Kong
Yep.
coming out, right?
Yeah, and it's a lot, and I still enjoy the movies. I'll still see them. I still like the characters, and a lot of the imagery and the characters that have meant a lot to me since I was really young, like that is still there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just more of like this sort of fatigue of like, it's like seeing it everywhere. And I think also being more active in a community with getting everyone's opinions constantly all the time is also like kind of exhausting. So like what has changed for me is that like emotionally I've kind of like stepped back a little bit, where, you know, I'm less involved in like discussions and things like that. Like it's still my peripheral, and I'm still like, man, I love these characters, but
yeah,
I'm not like, I gotta see -1. Though I love his feet. I love the feet.
The design looks so wonderful. But no, like I really honestly kind of relate with what you said, because like after Godzilla versus Kong, I kind of was experiencing a bit of Godzilla burnout as well, mostly because I just like, I don't know if I feel really wholesome about the direction the MonsterVerse has been going. So I've been kind of just like, you know, and Singular Point was interesting to me, but like, again, it was like an open-ended thing where like there's no like resolution, right? So And I also I did like a mass exodus from like a variety of different Godzilla groups, especially on like Facebook. I mean, mostly because a lot of them are just absolutely exhausting.
Yeah.
But like it just kind of like became like this inundation, you know, and I was just like,
Yeah.
no, I gotta part ways with that because it's not doing it for me. And let's be honest, like I don't really think that any of us have ever lived in the time where we've had this much Godzilla stuff to consume. Normally we have to wait like 2-3 years like for a movie, or like between like Final Wars and 2014, 10 years, right? So like I feel like we've just gotten inundated so quickly with so much Godzilla that it's like,
right.
How do I digest this?
Right. How do I digest it? How do I keep up? How do I like stay current in conversations? And then also for me, where I'm like, I don't really want to partake in opinions right now. I just want to like, you know, enjoy it surface level.
That's a very refreshing take though too, because I feel like the time that we live in kind of expects us to always be super engaged with whatever is being said, right? And sometimes it's just nice to be able to turn something on and be like, all right, I'm watching it for the entertainment value. I'm not watching it to read people's random dissertations about why they're angry that something happened or that something didn't happen, you know, like all of that jazz.
Exactly. So. It's like you have like current events and then you have everything happening and like your little fan bubble fandoms and everything, and like so much of it because we're constantly connected now. I remember growing up and 98 came out, and it's like, I don't know, the internet was really, really young, and I'm like, I had gotten like a little book, like a junior novelization from like a book fair or something, you know, like this is so 90s growing up. I'm like, and then like, you know, we find like an image off of the internet and then we like screen print it onto a like iron. You could get print it out and then you would iron it onto a shirt. So like iron it onto a shirt, and I was like, that was my Godzilla merch. I'm like, I got this.
We did. We had to create our own merch. Like,
yeah.
I remember when 98 came out. We're really going on a deep dive now, a nostalgic deep dive. So when 98 came out, and the internet was young, or at least felt young, I would like, there was like some random GeoCities website. I can't remember what it was called, but it had like kaiju profiles, and I like I like printed them all off and made like a binder.
Oh, I love it.
It was obnoxious. I like decorated it and everything. Like it looked super gay. It looked super gay. How my parents did not put the pieces together, I'll never know. They're I think it might be buried in my childhood bedroom somewhere.
If you find it, please.
If I find it,
I need to see it.
If I find it, it will be making an appearance. But like I remember around that time, like I felt like I had to create like my own stuff too. And then like when the movie came out, then some merch started trickling in. So I ended up getting like a Godzilla lunchbox. I kept it. I still have it.
So cute.
I think I was in like middle school thereabouts when this happened. So I had like a Godzilla lunchbox, and then I remember I had Godzilla Velcro shoes.
That's awesome.
And they were legit.
That's awesome. I love it.
And I look back on that and I'm just like, as a kid, I was just so excited. I didn't care. I didn't care about people's thoughts on that film, if that was really Godzilla or not. I was just enjoying it, you know? And you know what? Yeah. I still watch that. I still watch that film, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to still enjoy it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, we're always constantly connected now. And so we're always like, a lot of things that people would internalize for good or bad, like, is now just like out there. And so we're always like taking in all of this information. Like, it's a thought one day where I was like, you know, this person, I would have never seen this before. This is a thought that they had. And now I'm like constantly reading everyone's thoughts all the time. So I find I just get drained because I'm like an emotional sponge. And I'm like, oh, everyone's thoughts all the time. I'm just,
Right. Yeah. Sometimes like, I think there is no shame in disconnection, right? Like sometimes you have to do it for your own benefit, especially as artists, like, or writers and stuff like that. Like when we're constantly exposed to other people's like creative onslaught that they're putting out there, like we have to like pull back and be like, okay, how is it impacting us? Like allow us to just breathe, you know. I totally get that. Zen. Oh, that felt good. I need to start meditating more.
Yeah.
I woke up this morning like in a panic and I was like, what am I doing with my life?
Oh man, that's been me every day for like the last 2 months.
Oh no. Maybe morning meditation is what we need to do.
I wake up and I'm like, oh, there it's all.
I wake up to an existential crisis.
Relatable.
Okay, so this is an interesting question that I really like to pose to my returning guests. Because obviously, like, we grew up loving Godzilla at one point. If you could go back in time to your younger self, what valuable wisdom from the Godzilla franchise would you impart to younger you?
Oh, so it's like wisdom from the movie that you learned that you go back in time and tell yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, my mind's kind of going to Final Wars.
Ooh,
and
I like this direction.
Like, there's that scene at the very end that I think is really cheesy, but I really like it, where it's like they have the baby Godzillas and the kid, and he's like, no, like we have to live in peace, and then like Godzilla, like little Godzilla, they like walk off into the sunset in the ocean.
It's such a good ending.
And I feel like that says a lot about like conflict and choosing your battles.
Ooh, I like that.
So that's something that I would probably impart to my younger self, because being an emotional sponge and having the childhood that I had and going back and being like, hey, you don't have to internalize everything. Like you can pick your battles, so
that's really empowering, actually. And I feel like people tend to really hate on Godzilla Final Wars, and I'm not saying that it's a perfect film by any stretch of the imagination, but it's one that I've grown more fond of as I've grown older, and I've never really unpacked those final sets of scenes, right? Because really the whole film is about picking fights when you're not really supposed to, and then realizing that, like, okay, something is going to come along and take care of it all, right? Sometimes you have to be that person to stand up and be like, all right, we're done.
Right. Because if you think about that movie, it's like Godzilla cleaning up the Zillions' mess. They come down, they make a mess, and he's like, oh, I gotta clean up your mess. And it's like, you don't have to clean up other people's messes all the time. Watching this.
Exactly. And sometimes like a simple diffusing gesture, kind of like the kid and little Godzilla at the end, like that goes really far, right? Because like the whole thread of that film focuses on this conflict between Godzilla and humanity. Like, ooh, we have to destroy Godzilla, or Godzilla's going to destroy us. Wait, let's use Godzilla to our advantage. Oh, wait, Godzilla's too powerful now. What are we going to do? Like, it's just like, relax, humans. just relax.
Everyone's got to relax. Everyone take a chill pill. Everyone in life.
I love that this is the theme of our episode so far. Just like,
yes. Breathe in, breathe out.
But no, like
yourself.
I think that's very thought-provoking. For me, if I were to think of my valuable wisdom to my younger self, I was recently watching. I got like 3/4 of the way through Godzilla vs. Destroy, and then I had to stop because I have a really hard time. I know we've talked about that film a lot because that film resonates with us in varying ways, but I was just thinking about Miki Sagusa in that film, and then like kind of like her character arc all the way up until then, of like she often was the one who believed in Godzilla's capabilities and his intentions when other people wouldn't. And it kind of, I don't know, it sat interestingly with me because, like, when I was a kid, I feel like people often did not believe in my intentions or my capabilities and stuff like that. So I would go back and be like, hey, child Donny, like, if for some reason you feel this way, there is going to be someone in your orbit who does believe in you. And, so it's just, I don't know, like, I was always captivated by Mickey being like the only one who'd be like, oh my God, I'm worried about Godzilla. Oh my God. And everybody's like, let's shoot Godzilla. Let's maim Godzilla. Let's explode his brain, like, what?
No.
Like, my goodness.
Gotta have that support net in your life. It's very important.
Right.
Even
it is
Godzilla.
Very important. Right, absolutely. Okay, which largely unpopular Godzilla film is your guilty pleasure?
So I'm thinking about this one, and I wanted to say Godzilla's Revenge, but I feel like it's not as largely unpopular as I originally thought. I've met a lot of people who really like that movie.
I feel like as we grow older, we kind of like fall back in love with the film. When we're like at a certain age, we're like, we think of ourselves as critics and we're just like,
oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And now we're just like, actually, it was really good. But anyway, continue. Sorry.
So I think actually my guilty pleasure has to be a combination of the first and the third Godzilla Earth anime movie.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
So talk to me about those. Like, what makes you enjoy those? Because like people really hate on the anime trilogy. I enjoy the first and third film as well. Second one, no, hit or miss for me. But the first and third are not too bad.
Yeah, I liked. So we always, I think I say we, but as the Godzilla community, I feel like there's always a lot of discourse around the human characters and the human element in the film. And these films really focused on that. It's very Star Trek-y from my opinion. You have these like people from different planets who are like living together and they're working through their conflicts. And then, throw a wrench into that. And it's like, oh, we land this planet and there's like giant monsters, right? And like the way each character was kind of like built was interesting to me because I found that I was interested in like their character growth and their journey more so than in other films. And I really, really like Metfees. Metfees is like
me too.
Beautiful anime boy who is obsessed with Space Noodle. So
I almost wrote fan fiction shipping him with what's the main character's name? Why am I blanking?
It's like
Haruo?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There was something.
Oh, absolutely.
Like I was like,
they wrote it in there. It's in there.
Like I'm just like, you know what? There's got to be a gay somewhere, or an LGBTQ plus person somewhere in that writing team that was like, okay, I'm gonna appeal to those people with this.
Oh yeah, I think there were some scenes in the third movie where I'm just like, this is very like suggestive in a way. Like,
I'm sure somebody will eviscerate me for even implying it, but I don't care.
No one likes these movies that much, so we can say whatever we want.
Let me have my fan fiction in my brain, please.
Girl and Metfees, please. And then they get married under the guise of Space Noodle.
That would be beautiful.
He comes out as like, bless this marriage.
Maybe Mothra can finally appear and not be just a shadow, and grace the wedding with her beauty. No, like, so it's interesting that you mention the characters and their arcs in those films, because I feel like the one thing in a lot of Godzilla films that often the human characters lack would be like the motivation factor. Like, we don't really understand what their motivations are all the time. Not always the case, but like I feel like in the anime trilogy we saw more characters whose motivations were clear, than we had in almost any other Godzilla film, which I found to be refreshing. That's actually what made me fall in love with the films, because each character had their motivation. The audience was in on what their motivation was. The other characters may not have been in, right? So, like, I don't know. I felt really engaged because of that as the audience, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. Like, as we're talking about this, it brings to mind, like, King of the Monsters. Like, I do like that movie, but it kind of feels like, hey, we have Millie Bobby Brown, who's Millie Bobby Brown, just to be in this movie. Like, she does stuff, but, like, like what's the driving force other than, like, this thing with her mom, this thing with her dad? Like, we don't get a whole lot of depth into her and those characters.
I would say that that's one of my big things about the MonsterVerse. Like, I mean, I think the MonsterVerse has some phenomenal ideas and some beautiful executions of things, but, like, the human characters, like, we don't really get to see them, going through the paces. We don't really get to see them, advancing or growing or anything like that. And in fact, many of them just appear, but then, it just fizzles out like a firework. Like, I mean, one of my big things, and this is kind of like why Godzilla versus Kong shut me down a little bit, was, like, Dr. Serizawa's son was supposed to be, like, a main character in the film, and we see this person, but, like, there's no context surrounding this person. Millie Bobby Brown is also thrown into the film and just doing things, right?
Just doing things,
just doing lots of things, and I'm just like, what is, like, how her mom died? Like, how is she coping with that? Like, what's going on?
Right?
So, yeah, I just felt like there was a lot that could have been explored. But so I'm glad that we talked about the anime trilogy, though, because justice for the anime trilogy. Damn it.
Yes.
What is your unpopular or controversial Godzilla opinion?
How many do you want?
As many as you want. As many as you feel comfortable sharing. Do you want me to share one of mine first?
Oh, yeah, please.
Because I've been thinking about this for, like, a week. The Showa era. People love Godzilla versus Monster Zero, which or Invasion of the Astro Monster. Love that film. I think Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster is better. Like, I think, and I know that people would annihilate me for, and you know what? That's fine. Annihilate me in the comments, but I think it's better. Because I mostly felt like Monster Zero just recycled a lot of, like, ideas from Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster.
Oh.
And then, of course, the absence of Mothra is just an atrocity. So there's my reasoning.
Of course. I was trying to remember which one of those films I fell asleep to.
If it was Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, I will not be upset. Not everybody likes that film. It's totally...
Is that the one with the Planet of the Apes people?
Is that the one with the Planet of the Apes people? Or is that... Are we talking Godzilla? Is it Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla?
Maybe that's the one. Maybe.
Did you fall asleep during Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla?
No, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla is the one with King Shisa, right? Yes.
Yeah.
No, I like that one. But there's definitely one. It might have been Astro Monster. I don't remember.
Because the Exilians are in Astro Monster.
I don't remember. I definitely fell asleep through one of them.
Because I think the only other one with, like, the ape people wasn't it Terror of Mechagodzilla, probably?
Is that the one with the Atlanteans or something? It was like they were actually, like, Atlanteans. Like, here's my unpopular opinion. It's like all of this Showa stuff just, like, in my brain, and I'm like, I've seen them all, like, more than once, and I have definitely fallen asleep to more than one.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
I guess one of my unpopular takes is that a lot of the films from that era, and maybe, like, early Showa, they're too slow for me. They're very slow.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they're a great introduction to people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like one of those things where it's like you can put on, like I maybe watched as a kid and it kind of gave me like warm fuzzies because I'm like, oh, it's a Godzilla movie.
Right.
But now as an adult, I'm like, it's a little slow. I've got limited time in my life.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really tired. So sometimes you put one of those movies on and I'm out.
I would say that one of my current unpopular opinions is one that reflects that, like the pacing. I'm just like, what is going on with the pacing with this film?
Right.
And I probably will get eviscerated for it, but
let's go.
the Heisei Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, like it takes so long to get to the first battle, and I don't care about the Futurians. They're annoying, like misogynistic, brotatoes, and I'm just like,
Yep.
Now the historical aspect. Right? Yeah, I think that is the Dora one.
I loved that one when I was a kid, and I watched it again like a year or two ago because my husband got me the DVD for like a present, and I watched it again, and I was like, where are the scenes I remember? They're all the way at the end of the movie. All the best parts are at the end.
Right. Yeah. I love the historical context that the film creates because that was pretty cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, like it takes a while to get to this point, and the human characters, other than Mickey Sagusa, in my opinion, are just, like the main character. I can't even remember the main character's name. He's attractive. That's all I remember. Wasn't he like an author? Like I think he was an author or something, or a journalist
maybe.
Or something like that.
Probably.
Yeah, but I remember watching that film and I was just like, ooh, what is going on here?
Oh my gosh.
Those are my controversial hot takes.
Me watching Gamera Super Monster with the space ladies and the one lady, and I'm just like,
oh, Gamera Super
Monster. She's so cute. Oh my gosh, how is she so cool? I'm like sitting on the sofa next to my husband. I'm like, I'm crushing on this woman. She's so cool. Who let her be this cool?
There's just some really attractive people. Like I know, like I was gushing with this about Matt, I think a couple of episodes ago. The Exilian second in command from Godzilla Final War is just like there's just something like, like teenage me watched him and I was just like, chapter 15 of Gay Awakening, here we go. But so all right, if given the power, what Godzilla film would you want to create? Or what direction would you take the franchise if you had the power to do so? Or would you give the franchise a break, considering it's been oversaturated?
Maybe I'd give it a break. I'd be like, let's shelf this for a while. If I don't have the option to give it a break, what I want to do is I want to make a movie with Godzuki. It's going to be like a reboot kind of thing of the Hanna-Barbera series. And I was playing around with the idea of doing a fan comic a while ago, so I have a very loose concept.
I actually love that idea. I feel like the Hanna-Barbera series is super underrated, and for many people it was like their first exposure to Godzilla. And I feel like there are like nuggets in there that are like really, Godzuki being one of them.
Yes, whoever
Godzuki. If you make this comic, I'll eat it up. I'm sure a lot of people will eat that up.
I had this whole like premise or like the whole story, where it's like the people on the ship. Of course, I would recast them. They would be different, but like,
for sure.
I wanted to do like this whole concept where like, there's like, instead of just a young boy who hangs out with Godzuki, there's like a young girl and her parents were scientists, and like they create like a sort of color to like communicate English with Godzuki, and then they have the Godzilla button, right? But then get stranded on this island where there's like a scientist from outer space who lands there with like his wife and kid, and then he's trying to do this experiment and like ends up forming them into like a big monster, and then they have to call Godzilla and then they fight.
Oh, that sounds interesting. So this would be a movie then, right? Not a show.
Yeah, this would have to be a movie. It'd be like maybe 2.5 hours.
I'd be here.
Legendary, call me.
Legendary, this needs to happen. Make it happen, yes. Damn it.
bring in Godzuki. I don't care what y'all people be like, oh, Godzuki, he's so lame. It's like,
we will fight for Godzuki.
Appreciation squad.
Absolutely.
My boy.
Oh, I know. It makes me want to go. It's been forever since I've watched that series. I need that. It's making me want to go rewatch it. So that's gonna happen. Probably over holiday break for me.
We should like watch it together, and then we could be like, "This is so silly."
we need to like be like just messaging our commentaries, like what is going on. I would do that. I would be up for that.
Yeah,
that would be wonderful. Okay. So this is an interesting question. Which scene in a Godzilla film shook your younger self? And does it have the same impact on you still?
Kind of touched on this just a couple minutes ago about the Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. But there was like the scene in the movie where I always forget the guy's name, but like Godzilla like walks by the building and he like
Shindo.
Yeah. And then he's like, and like kills him. And like as a kid, I was like, that scene is so cool because Shindo saw him when he was like a Godzillasaurus and he remembered him. And then, oh my gosh. And like, I watched it again as an adult. And I'm like, the scene is good. Not as incredible as my child mind made it out to be. Like I was a kid, I was like, it stuck with me. It like stuck with me for like 30 years. And I'm like, it was so deep and so cool. And oh my gosh, and like so long. Like there was this longing in his eyes and all this stuff. And I watch it again as an adult and it's just like blip. And I'm
it's very fleeting now, isn't it? But it's larger than life for us when we were kids. Oh, I do love that scene now. That like as much as I was hating in the film earlier, I think that is like between that, some of the battles and the historical context it creates, like that was a very good scene with developing Godzilla as a character. I feel like that was the first humanization of Godzilla in the Heisei era that we really got, which felt refreshing.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's just really funny to see like what your child mind kind of like hooks into and like what sticks with you, and then seeing it again when you're older. I don't know. It's like not a, I've ruined my childhood, but it's more just interesting to me to be able to see it from like two different perspectives as one person.
Right. Yeah. That like I've been kind of examining that too. That's probably why I like Final Wars more than I used to, especially because like I don't know, like I was a teenager, or was I? I think I was still a teenager when Final Wars came out, and I was just like so critical at the time over it. And now I rewatch it, I'm like, it's a mess. It's a delightful mess. It's a mosaic of messiness.
Yeah. Oh, I love that description because it really is. And then I love hearing people kind of talk about their teenage selves and how critical like they were of films, because I'm like, it is so true. We were all like this. Like we all go through a phase where we're like, ugh.
We were exhausting people.
I took a film class and I know everything.
According to this film theory, through this lens of application, blah. And it's just like stop. Like, calm down.
Yeah, calm down. I just
Professor Film Critic.
I just want to watch popcorn flicks. I'm like, I don't care if you don't. I'm like, I don't care. I'm watching Captain America: The First Adventure for the 500th time.
Yes. I just want to watch a film to distract me from the existential crises of everyday life.
Exactly.
So I think for me, the scene that really shook me, and we're going to go back to Godzilla versus Destroyer. I have a therapy session on Friday, so if need
okay,
be,
good,
I can
good.
talk to her about that. But so I stopped the film when Godzilla Jr. died. Like, I don't know, like, I'm watching the film, like, ooh, it's so intense. And then, like, Godzilla Jr. dies, and I sobbed. Like, I remember, like, being really emotional over it as a kid and as a teenager, but, like, as an adult, maybe I was having a rough mental health day, but, like, he died, and I'm like, like, why is this so difficult to watch? And I'm just like, how many of us were traumatized because of that film? Like, not only did Junior brutally die, like this innocent creature, but then Godzilla like literally melts down like 10 minutes later. So it's like,
Yeah, it's so sad.
It's like, do we all need therapy now because of
Yes,
that movie?
we all need therapy because of Godzilla versus Destroyer.
You know, like as frustrated as I was, like being a sobbing mess, like I was like, you know what though, that scene did exactly what it needed to do because I know
it's
that's what
true.
the intent was. So
Mhm.
I guess good on them.
We're gonna make people cry so hard. Kill the baby.
We're gonna make people feel dismal at the end of this. Well, I mean, I guess it was kind of uplifting at the end, slightly, but between that and then the double whammy of the first film in the Mothra trilogy with Mothra dying, like I don't know how I'm a functioning human at this point. Because it's like Toho, like those years back to back, they were like, we're going to destroy people with two of the most visceral deaths possible in kaiju films.
It's like, oh, this thing? You like this thing? Watch me murder it.
Let's brutally murder it. Let's make it drown to death. Let's make it. Oh, rough. This has been such a fun conversation.
I'm so glad.
Like, I feel like we've had a long day and we're just bantering, and I love it.
Oh, it's happy hour.
It's a happy hour, right? Minus I don't have a drink. I have water.
Same, yeah. I have water. We're being responsible.
We're being responsible human beings. So okay, let's pretend that you have a friend who wants to get into Godzilla, or maybe wants to get into like the art area of Godzilla. What advice do you have for them for how they should start, but also navigate the nightmarish hellscape that is AI art right now?
Oh, so we're talking about like the art sector, and not necessarily films. I see.
You can do both. You can touch on both if you want.
Because for the films, I was like, I have an actual story where this kind of happened, because I'm going to shout out my friend Darcy, who grew up, had some Godzilla toys, like knew of Godzilla, but wasn't like a big Godzilla fan. Like, I don't remember if he actually saw any of the movies, but was over one night and we watched Shin Godzilla. And like that got him like really into the series. So we've like watched some other movies together. And we've talked about like how Shin Godzilla is like a really, really good entryway into the franchise. It's just a really solid film. It's got a lot of modern sensibility and pacing as well. So it's like good to digest. And then like Godzilla is like legitimately scary in that movie. So
that's a good movie. I would say that's a really good recommendation.
Yeah, I like that one. It was also really cool to see that in the theater when it was out here. So like that was really, I was like, wow, this is so cool. But for art, navigating the art world with AI is a thing. That's a thing. That's a thing we have to deal with now. But I'd like to say that like AI, it stands for artificial intelligence, but it's not intelligent. It is artificial, but it's not really intelligent. And I think that is something that people need to like understand. Like, new technology pops up and we're excited. We're like, this is the future and everything, but we're not yet at the part where we have these systems, that are thinking and being creative like humans are creative, and making art the way that humans are making art. Like, your work is stolen and then fed into an algorithm where a machine, based on whatever algorithm, copies and pastes different pieces together. So it's not really learning, it's not really growing, and it's a problem. And, you know, it's hard to say what the future holds. Will it change? Like, I'm hoping it's going to go the way of the NFT and kind of fizzle out.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, when that started, and I was
we could have a whole episode on that.
Yeah. And I'm like, that is my hope. But I think that, I mean, the AI technology, this sort of thing has been around for a while, but it's now just getting to the point where it's people can just go in and play with it. So, I mean, how to navigate that space is like, just be wary of where you're posting your work. You know, also don't let AI like stop you from creating work, art and writing and things like that, because like a machine can like piece things together and it's new and flashy and people can be like, oh wow, it's the future, woohoo, but it's not like you as an individual, because every creative person, you're bringing something new and different, and it's a piece of yourself, and you're adding to like our global culture now. We have access to the internet, you know. So if anything, I'm just like, don't get discouraged, just draw things, just do what you love. I think there's so many things in our world that already discourages people from pursuing art. You know, this is just one more thing.
Like, and I tell this to writer. I actually had a conversation with a student recently about this because they were very discouraged from writing because of AI. And I was just like, AI is not going to tell your story like you're going to tell your story, though. Like, AI is not going to have that. Like, it's a tool, of course, but it's not going to have like that emotional self-awareness. It's not going to have like, it's not going to convey the pathos that you would sharing your own experiences or infusing your own perceptions in whatever the work is that you're creating. So no, like, I definitely agree with it. I don't think that it should be anything that should discourage someone from putting themselves out there with regard to what they love to do. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah, everyone, if you watch this, like, go get, you know, take that positive message away from this discussion, you know, and like, sure, it's difficult, and there are times where it's like you see this stuff and it gets you down, but you know, just kind of do what you love. And
if it gets you down, breathe through it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that felt nice.
That was a good
Recenter yourself. My therapist says, breathe in for 4, exhale for 6.
Next, you're gonna have breathing with Godzilla.
A Godzilla meditation. A Godzilla meditation for kaiju-sized stress.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody steal that idea. It's our idea now.
That's right. That's our idea. We're doing it. It'll be like the next time we're at a con or something, and you're gonna have like the whole like today for our breathing panel for kaiju-sized stress.
Season 3 idea. There we go. Because you do know you're always welcome back, right?
Oh, thank you. I will come back and just complain all the time.
Well, that's what I love to do myself. So, yeah. As long as we're breathing through it, right? That's all that matters.
Yes. And then, like, speaking of the AI stuff and, like, just how you see it used in, like G-Fest, we were talking about that earlier. And I'm like, I know, it's, like, discouraging, but...
It is.
You know.
But as long as you're able to recognize, like, the misfires that happen, like then like I think it's important to also like as an artist and as a writer invest in like those spaces that really will uplift you too, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Find people that, are like-minded and will lift each other up, and like sometimes echo chambers aren't that bad, just saying.
Sometimes they're quite relaxing.
Yeah.
Well, Destiny, this has been such a wonderful conversation. I mean, they always are wonderful conversations, but for people to find your stuff, where can they go? I do have a link to your Instagram down below. So is your Instagram like primary space right now?
Basically, yeah. And it's like I'll post other things on there once I'm active on Blue Sky, also at Kaiju-Hime. I gotta get back into Twitch streaming again, Twitch at Kaiju-Hime VT. So it's just things are in flux right now, real world stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So once things start to
unflux,
then I will be back to my regular streaming shenanigans.
Well, we look forward to it. My friends, don't forget that Growing Up with Godzilla premieres on the first and third Sunday, relatively, of each month at 4 p.m. EST. Thank you again for tuning in for another wonderful episode. And thank you to Kaiju-Hime for dealing with my chaos again. Much love, my friend.
No, it's much love for you. It's not dealing, it's enjoying.
Oh. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.